Awakening the Rebellion is a fantastic mod for the game Star Wars Empire War Forces of Corruption. Awakening the Rebellion, also called AOTR for short, takes place during the Galactic Civil War era and has 3 playable factions, all with full rosters of over 50 units each. Play as the Rebellion, fighting for freedom in the galaxy from the tyrannous Empire and other oppressive forces. As the Rebellion, you will be the underdog faction. You must quickly learn how to manage multiple rebel cells spread across the galaxy. Will you try to create a supply line linking them all together to allow reinforcements to reach areas of need, or will you abandon certain rebel cells, allowing you to focus what limited credits you have as the rebels to build up those specific areas? Due to the Rebellion being so new and spread out, their economy will be weak at the start. They must rely on specialized tactics to gain resources, such as Alliance Envoys. Alliance Envoys can be sent to opposing planets, petitioning whatever rebel sympathizers are left in the galaxy, gaining their financial support but who are still too scared to openly defy the Empire. The Rebellion must also use hit-and-run tactics with their armies and navies to prevent major losses of the few units they have. In space battles, the rebels must take advantage of their small, fast craft to maneuver in and out of combat, striking at the large, slow units of the Empire, then swiftly pulling out of the engagement before their superior numbers can overwhelm them. The Rebellion must also take advantage of their famous heroes and their ability to sneak onto planets. From there, teamed up with more of the best rebel infiltrators, the Rebellion can raid planets and meet up with the resistance groups fighting for the freedom of their home worlds. With those combined forces, the rebels may be able to conquer the planet using stealth raids. Perhaps raids and hit-and-run tactics aren't your style, but you would rather be more straightforward with your approach to conquering the galaxy. In that case, playing as the Galactic Empire is the faction for you. Being the most established faction of the 3, the Empire has the best starting position with the majority of their planets being connected, as well as they have the best starting economy. The Empire must build up their economy in order to support the massive war machines and the factories needed to build them. In space battles, the Empire uses their large, heavy-hitting Imperial Star Destroyers to crush anything that opposes them. The Empire has a variety of escort frigates and cruisers to support their ISDs in an attempt to counter the Empire's biggest weakness, which is lack of fighter support and accuracy against smaller vessels. When invading planets, the Empire takes advantage of their technological superiority as they build advanced armor platoons. From devastating AT-ATs to infinite numbers of AT-STs and stormtroopers, the Imperial war machine seems to never stop putting out ground troops ready to conquer innocent worlds. And what better way to take revenge of the loss of the first Death Star than to build a second Death Star supported by Super Star Destroyers and all of your favorite Imperial heroes? Perhaps you come to Awakening the Rebellion not to play as the typical factions, but rather you have a desire for the life of crime. The Black Sun allows you to take over the many criminal factions in the Star Wars universe as you try to unite them enough to take on the other factions. When playing as the Black Sun, you will have a very diverse unit roster to choose from, mostly containing outdated units and other odd ships crime lords can find on the black market. With that being said, the true crime lords would never stand for working with other crime bosses, forcing you to choose which crime lord the Black Sun will show its allegiance to. Will you choose to commit to the Hutt Cartel, the Zon Consortium, King Caesar's Trade Systems, or IG-88's Droid Revolution? Committing to a specific crime lord will allow you to build their special units, but switching which crime boss the Black Sun is aligned with will make the others greatly upset. The Black Sun is certainly the most unique faction to play, as they have the most diverse unit roster and distinct playstyle. Once you have chosen which faction you desire to play, you must then choose which campaign you want to play. Awakening the Rebellion has a wide variety of campaigns to play from, all with varying sizes and different end goals. Easily the best Galactic Conquest map is the famous Awakening the Rebellion full campaign. This Galactic Conquest drops you right into the heart of the Galactic Civil War immediately after the destruction of the first Death Star. It features all 103 planets and all 6 factions currently in AOTR. When playing as the Rebellion or the Empire during this campaign, you will have multiple fully scripted unique missions that take you through the events of the original trilogy and many other events during that era. That campaign is the most recommended to play, especially when you're first starting out in the mod, but perhaps you're looking for something smaller. Well, Awakening the Rebellion certainly has what you're looking for. AOTR provides many other small and medium-sized Galactic Conquest maps that each have their own starting and ending points. Perhaps you want to skip to Episode 6 and play the events that lead up to and end the campaign with the massive Battle of Endor. Or maybe you want a short campaign centered around the famous core worlds to let you gain familiarity with a new faction before jumping into a full campaign. AOTR has all of this and so much more, including random campaigns where the starting planets of each faction are completely randomized, providing a unique and tough experience every time you play. Once you decide on a map to play, you must then choose a difficulty. AOTR does a fantastic job at spreading the difficulty meter to be perfect for every player. First, there is normal difficulty. Normal difficulty is perfect for new players or those who are fairly new and are trying out a different faction for the first time. Normal provides an easy early game for players. It allows players time to understand their faction's current position in the campaign and typically will not attack for the first several weeks, allowing for the player to build up their starting armed forces and economy. After those initial weeks, normal difficulty will start attacking, and the attacks they launch can actually be quite devastating for it being the easiest difficulty. Even still, most players will graduate onto hard difficulty once they feel comfortable with the faction they are playing. Hard difficulty is where most players will be spending their time. Hard AI starts campaigns much faster and smarter, quickly sweeping up any outside planets and not waiting around to launch massive attacks on your front lines. The armies and navies sent from hard AI are very large, oftentimes allowing the AI to take multiple planets from you before you can muster the forces to end their conquest. Once defeated, you will only have a few weeks before the AI launches another set of invasions. Hard mode is the perfect difficulty for a decent challenge that can very well threaten a possible campaign defeat if you are not careful. The final difficulty is Expert. Expert is the reason why people have poured thousands of hours into this game. It is extremely challenging and not for the faint of heart. It forces players to know every detail of the game and requires the player to be extremely knowledgeable in the faction they are using. Expert difficulty is very hard, however, it does it in a fun way where the challenge of the game is enjoyable and most importantly, rewarding. One final detail is in that AOTR you can change the difficulty mid-campaign, allowing you to shift the challenge either direction without having to start a new Galactic Conquest. Now that you've selected your faction, map, and difficulty, let's dive into what features make Awakening Rebellion a truly unique and fun experience. This list is vast and can certainly not be contained in one video, so I will try to cover the best features, but to experience everything AOTR has to offer, obviously you should download it and play it yourself. Now I've already given a description of each playable faction, but what is playing the game truly like? The tactical battles are amazing, and I don't want to take anything away from those when I say this next sentence, but the best feature of Awakening Rebellion is the Galaxy map. Most other mods make the Galaxy map feel like a burden, something you have to do to provide troops for the battlefield, but the time you spend on the Galaxy map feels bland and you are in a rush to get to the next battle. The opposite is true for Awakening Rebellion. In AOTR, the Galaxy map brings you into the Star Wars universe. You feel like you are truly in control of your faction as you are forced to make the wise decisions on where you will concentrate your armed forces, which planets you will fortify or abandon, and most importantly where you will choose to dedicate your credits. The Galaxy map is of course where you will build your armies and navies used in tactical battles, where you will build your production facilities, defenses, and economic buildings, and where you will execute your plan to conquer the galaxy. Each faction has their own unique production facilities, with those facilities allowing for the recruitment of that faction's infantry and vehicles for ground battles, and allowing for the construction of naval vessels for space battles. Each faction also has a distinct way of gaining credits for their cause, typically through various economic buildings, but also through other ways like rebel envoys and the Black Sun's corruption. Also on the Galaxy map, each faction will be able to build defenses that heavily influence tactical battles. These defenses can be a variety of things, usually providing garrison forces used only in that battle, but can also be things like ion cannons, shield generators, space stations, and so much more. AOTR has an extremely detailed economic system that adds so much to the variability to how each campaign and faction is played. Will you be ambitious and try to take planets that offer a lot of credits when conquered, or will you be defensive and try to build up the planets that you have and establish economic structures on those? With all that being said, the Galaxy map is truly what separates Awakening Rebellion from other Empire at War mods. It really does add so much to the campaigns, and my favorite part about it is that it really does make you feel like you're in the Star Wars universe and playing as the leader of your faction. The Galaxy map is great, but what would it be if it didn't set up your tactical battles? Let's first talk about what makes AOTR space battles both amazing and different. AOTR space battles have so much detail to them, and most importantly the battles feel like Star Wars. What makes AOTR space battles feel like Star Wars is that the factions fight just as they would in the Star Wars universe. For example of what I mean, in AOTR the Empire has the advantage in large capital ships. They dominate space battles through high firepower and advanced ships and armor. However, the Empire struggles to field vessels capable of taking out smaller ships and having the fighter support to prevent enemy factions from having fighter superiority. When playing as the rebels in AOTR, they have the advantage in small, fast fleets and fighters, but struggle to have multiple large navies. All of that is just like it was in the movies, and that is a major reason why Awakening Rebellion space battles are so great. Another thing that makes AOTR space battles unique to other mods is the pacing of the battles. This mod's space battles tend to be slower, but in a good way, requiring the player to manage their units much more effectively. In this mod, every unit matters, and losing units is quite devastating as replacing them won't be easy. In AOTR, every unit has a ship class, and having a balance of ship classes within your fleet is absolutely vital as each ship class will have its strengths and weaknesses. Additionally, fighters and bombers actually mean something in this mod. Bombers can be quite devastating and can easily dictate the result of a battle, while fighters are key for protecting bombers, screening ships, and gaining fighter superiority before also turning on ships and dealing even more damage to them. Just like in space battles, Awakening the Rebellion does a great job of reflecting the Star Wars universe in its ground battles. Each faction reflects their strengths and weaknesses, as well as in their unit roster. There's also an infinite amount of strategies to be used in ground battles. Perhaps you want to have a balanced force with heavy vehicles escorted by light armor and infantry, or maybe you want to have carriers push elite infantry behind enemy lines to wreak havoc, supported by air units. Raiding is another great feature of AOTR that allows you and the AI to use certain stealth units to capture a planet, destroying the enemy space stations and leaving their space forces vulnerable. Every faction can raid, but just like in the movies, the rebels are much more suited for it than the Empire is. Other amazing features in Awakening the Rebellion include 3 fully complete minor factions, including the Hapes, the Hutts, and the Corporate Sector Authority. These minor factions play just like major ones, but only start with a handful of planets. Another very major part of Awakening the Rebellion is the balancing of the game. The AOTR developers put a massive focus on the balancing of every part of their game, from the galaxy map to each individual unit. As a result, every unit in the game has its use, and no unit is too weak not to be used, and no unit is too game-breakingly strong. Keep in mind that AOTR does have a tech-reliant gameplay system, so as you progress through the game, some units may be underwhelming, but it is most likely because they are early tech units. With that being said, those late tech units that replace the early ones are typically more expensive and require the technology to be built. Another key detail is that Awakening the Rebellion is actively being updated. Every few months an update comes out with plenty of new content, and every third or so update is a major one with some sort of game-breaking addition. In 2.9, space battles were overhauled. In 2.10, the Black Sun got an overhaul, giving them a new tech system, as well as plenty of new units. With that being said, I'm very proud to say that none of these updates have been negative ones. We've all experienced when a game puts out an update and it just ruins the game for whatever reason, and that has never been the case for AOTR. There are so many more amazing features of Awakening Rebellion that I didn't have time to mention in this video, and the best way to experience them all is of course to play the mod yourself. If you are looking for a video explaining how to download and play the mod for yourself, check out the video on the screen now. If you are looking for other videos on Awakening Rebellion, my channel is the place to be. I've got a playlist dedicated to how-to and tutorial videos to assist you in better understanding the mod, multiple playlists dedicated to general entertainment surrounding the mod, including ship showcases, top 5s, tier lists, and comparison videos, and of course, a playlist dedicated to my full campaign where I play the mod and talk about all things Star Wars and Awakening of the Rebellion. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and check out all the different AOTR videos and other mods as well.